Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the third webinar of the Zoho QEngine 101 series. So today's session will be looking at web application testing with Zoho QEngine. Just a quick recap of what we saw earlier. In the first webinar, we looked at test creation and management using Zoho QEngine. In the second webinar, we looked at the test execution and the results associated with the test executions. In today's session, with all the knowledge that we gathered, like with test creation and execution and everything, we'll be looking at how we can test a web application altogether. So the agenda for today's session is we'll be starting off with the market analysis, a quick understanding of the websites that we are going to be testing, or what is the state of the entire web applications these days. And then we'll be looking at the test issues that web testing is faced, all the issues that you face with web testing, and how Zoho QEngine can actually help you with that. We'll be seeing all of that in detail during a product demo. But when we go into the product demo, we'll be actually starting off with test creation. Of course, we'll be creating test cases using Zoho QEngine, and we'll be executing those test cases and analyzing the results of the test executions. All of this we'll be looking at in product demo. So let's just quickly understand the state of web applications. So currently there are more than 1 billion websites available. And out of those, only 200 billion active websites are there, and which is a big deal if you think about it. And every single day, more than 250,000 websites are created. So the state of web applications is very, very important as we actually proceed with the webinar, because as you know, all of the businesses, most of the businesses out there and organizations and everything is powered by websites. And a huge chunk of it these days is covered by something called as the progressive web applications. Progressive web applications are the advanced form of like normal websites. They are easy to adapt to any of the devices that you are, modern devices that we are all used to. These web applications, progressive web applications, actually open and work just fine on any of the devices. Let it be a mobile, let it be your a laptop, or even your systems. And most of these progressive web applications are designed in such a way to offer extra features beyond what is available. So these websites generally are built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript coding languages. There are other frameworks and other languages which are used for this as well, but we'll be for understanding say today we'll be just let's just understand that these are the three most important coding languages used for developing these web applications. And as I mentioned already, these web applications actually they go beyond multiple domains. So they have their applications in e-commerce, let it be banking, education, or healthcare. So these applications are used almost everywhere. So let's understand. So there are the websites. So let's understand what are the issues with testing these websites. Of course, there are a lot of things which might happen, like you open a particular website and it doesn't work, or it doesn't open properly. There is a DNS error. There is error 404 and all of these things. But these are issues which the end user face. But when you are testing a web application as it is, before you deliver it to the end user, what are the issues the development team and the QA team face while testing these websites? So I have listed few of the testing here, cross-browser testing and all of this, but I'll be focused more on the issues pertaining with these testing altogether. So when I talk about cross-browser testing, every website is actually tested across multiple devices, multiple environments, multiple platforms, multiple browsers, and different versions of them. And the website has to work across all of them. So ensuring that you are testing the website across multiple platforms and, as I mentioned, browsers and the different versions of altogether is a difficult task. And similarly, for responsiveness testing, you have to ensure that a website works properly, displays all the content properly across different screen resolutions. So to ensure that these work just fine, you obviously have to check the website on different resolutions altogether. It could be a mobile device, it could be an Android device, or it could be a laptop and all altogether. And similarly, when we talk about dynamic content, we know that in this age, when somebody is accessing a particular website, it could be an e-commerce website or it could be some other website altogether. So what happens is every user is invited as soon as they open the application. Every user is invited with a content which is personalized for them. It could be based on geographical factors, or it could be based on what they are doing inside the application and what their necessity is. So this dynamic content has to be adaptive to each of these users, and that you have to test accordingly for different users altogether. So that is one of the issues which they face with web testing. And when we talk about system testing, so I obviously wanted to mention integration testing here. Integration testing is a part of system testing. So what happens is every web application these days has a lot of integrations. It could be an integration with a third-party service, or it could be an integration with a payment gateway. Like when I talk about web application, I'm talking, of course, like something like an Amazon or a Facebook or something like that. So all of these applications work properly when they are a part of an ecosystem. So testing each of these applications or each of these integrations separately and also as a whole system together is very, very important. So testing all of this is again a difficult task. And similarly, performance testing, ensuring that all of the website or everything in the back end of the web application is working just fine. Starting from opening the applications, how much time does it take for the web application to open, and how much time does it take for us to, let's say, you are clicking on a particular feature and you want it to work just fine. How much time does it take for the API to get back with the response, and all of this is under performance testing. And again, this also takes a lot of time. And finally, two other important things is security testing. Security testing, it's very, very important these days because most of the websites are vulnerable to hacking and phishing attacks these days. So security testing has become an important part of testing these days. And finally, we'll be looking at the usability testing. So usability testing is nothing but every time a web application is tested, all the testing is completed, and before they push it to the end user for them to use, they have to ensure that it works just fine, exactly for the different kind of user personas out there. Like every user is different and they might access the application in a different way. So that is tested during usability testing. So these are the different issues with testing a web application, because all of this testing is very, very important. Of course, there are other testing as well. I have listed a few important ones here to ensure that whenever an application is a web application is opened by the end user, it works flawlessly. So now, when we talked about all of the issues plaguing the web application, so now how does Zoho QEngine help? For those of you who are joining new, Zoho QEngine is a test automation software, of course, from Zoho. So within Zoho QEngine, you can actually test applications which are available on web, mobile platforms, and also you can test your API request using Zoho QEngine. And for creation of the test cases, we provide three different ways. You can actually create test cases using no-code test recorder, low-code builder, and pro-code editor. All of this I'll be touching upon today during the demo. But those of you who want to understand this better, you can watch the previous webinars as well. So for creating test cases, we offer these three scenarios, and for executing the test cases, you can actually execute on three different. You can either opt to execute your test cases on Zoho Cloud itself, or your local system or servers, which is agent. We call it agents, or you can do a mix of both of this. Self-healing, wherein you can actually ensure that if any web application is missing out on any particular, if it has a broken locator and everything. Self-healing AI helps you with ensuring that the test case is not broken altogether and it works just fine. I'll explain it in detail when we look at product. And parallel testing helps you with ensuring that you run multiple test cases simultaneously at the same time, so that the productivity of your team is is improved. This is an important feature because in an actual state, what happens is before the production, tens and thousands of test cases are run, and parallel testing will help you with ensuring that multiple, based on the number of threads you have purchased, multiple test cases can be run simultaneously. And these are the important things. Of course, we provide simulators and emulators for testing. And the star of the entire show of Zoho QEngine, or the USP of Zoho QEngine, is single-click platform switch, wherein even though we, as I mentioned, we provide for you to write test cases across web, mobile, and for API as well, you can quickly switch between all of this with a single click. You can, in fact, you can even create test cases for them simultaneously. Of course, you will have to execute them separately. So we'll be starting off with test creation. So in today's session, since we already talked about a lot of features of the Zoho QEngine, today's session will not have a lot of, we'll not be talking too much about all of the features of the Zoho QEngine. We will be talking about the features which are essential for web testing. So let's start off with test creation. So for test creation within Zoho QEngine, there are three different modes, as I mentioned. Three different you can create test cases. We'll be starting off with no-code test recorder. So no-code test recorder is a very good tool. What happens is you enter the URL of the website. In case of a web application, sorry, mobile application is different, but in case of a web application, you enter the URL of the website and it will take you to the Zoho QEngine will open up in a new browser tab altogether, and it will take you there to the URL wherein you can actually, wherever your cursor is hovering, wherever the movements of your cursor, the scrolling, the clicking, and everything is captured meticulously. And all of this is done without writing a single line of code. So your user actions are recorded very clearly, and all of the elements, web elements which are encountered during inside the web application, all of that is saved inside the elements repository. We'll talk about it in some time. So this is about recorder. So you just have to perform actions, and finally a test case is created for you, just like that. And low code builder is a similar, just like most of the other low code applications out there. It features the drag and drop UI. So wherein on the left hand side, multiple actions are available for you to write the test cases, or essential for the test cases are available on the left hand side. You simply have to just drag and drop on to the editor, wherein each particular action comes up with predefined syntax. So you don't have to worry about remembering any coding language or worrying about the syntax altogether. You just have to enter values for the individual fields. So, and also each line of code inside the editor is also draggable. You can rearrange them accordingly. And finally, the pro code editor, as the name says, this is for the seasoned veteran testers who can actually create test cases, or they are okay with writing code on their own from scratch. So good thing is for Zoho QEngine, you don't have to remember a new coding language altogether. The syntax is very similar to Java and JavaScript, so it's pretty straightforward. You can start writing code just like that. And also it comes up with the smart autocomplete feature, wherein you can just type, let it be the name of the variable or anything. It completes it for you. It does it even for the predefined actions as well. And for all of these, across all of these three modes that I was talking about, for all of this on the left hand side, in case of the no code test recorder, once a test case is created and once you enter the edit, you can also tweak the particular test case. For all of this on the left hand side, predefined web actions are available. So each of these actions are available for you to drag and drop, or you can type it out, or based on your needs, they are available for you. And most of the web actions will cover most of the actions which are required for you to perform the tests. And even within the no-code test recorder, as I was talking about, within the no-code test recorder, even while you are performing the recording, what you can do is there is an option for you to access the frequently used actions. Not all of the actions available inside the Zoho QEngine are available inside the no-code test recorder, but few of the important actions are available there. For example, wait condition or something like that. You can actually perform it right then and there itself. You don't have to wait till you enter Zoho QEngine's editor to make changes. Even while recording, you can make these changes. And for every website that you encounter or every web application that you are looking at, the elements and the particular locators are captured every single time you are writing a test case. The very first time you are recording the particular, accessing the particular URL or the web application, the elements and the locators are available for you inside the element repository, wherein you can actually go and you can add your own locators, elements and locators, or you can edit whatever is available there. For each of the web element, the Zoho QEngine gives you the option to either change or edit CSS or CSS locator or XPath or name or ID. All of these are available for you to change whenever you feel like. And finally, functions are something which are useful for you to, let's say, a particular a test case has to be repeated multiple times. For example, logging in to the application, if it has to be repeated multiple number of times, you can create it as a function, so that it's easy for you to reference it inside the test case, just like that, or across multiple test cases, just like that, just like would call a variable. So once you have created a test case, Zoho QEngine gives you the option to execute the test cases on multiple environments. So for Zoho QEngine, there are two different options available. Of course, hybrid is the third model, but these are the two important things. So we will start off with Zoho Cloud. Zoho Cloud is an easy way to, since Zoho QEngine is also a web application wherein you don't have to install anything altogether and everything is easily available for you. Let's say your test case is created, you don't have to worry about setting up an environment for testing it. All of that is available on Zoho Cloud. Zoho Cloud is secure, reliable, and it also helps you with testing it much, much faster. As soon as the test case is created, you just click on the run button, select the different browsers and the different versions of the browsers and everything. And also it gives you the options to select the multiple screen resolutions for all of these environments. You just have to select all of them and click on run, and your test case is ready to go or execute on the particular environment that you selected. So let's say you want to do more, or you want to run the test cases on your own local system or servers, you can use the agent feature. So it is on premise, wherein what you can do is your test case is done. Once the agent is configured, you can actually select your test cases to run on your particular agent on your local system. The agent works fine on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So let's say you want to do a mix up of both of these Cloud and agents. There is an option to do that as well. So finally, every time we talk about environments, environment variable is an important thing. We obviously don't want to miss on that. What happens is, for someone who don't know this, I'm just going to reiterate this. Variable is nothing but a container which holds a particular value. It could be a number, it could be a string or anything. So a variable holds this particular value. So an environment variable, what it does is, as I mentioned, the different environments you want to test your web application. For different environments, let's say for a different environment, you might want to test the web application with a different variable. So what this environment variable does is, for each of these individual environments that I was talking about, it helps you create a different variable altogether. So the name will be the same, but the value which the particular variable holds will be different for each of the individual environments. You can create multiple environment variables for the multiple environments. So that was about the environments. Now, talking about self-healing, which I was talking about some time back. So self-healing, what it does is, like a test case is created and a particular locator, because web applications are much more advanced these days because of the dynamic nature and everything. they tend to be broken sometimes. So what happens? You might not be able to access a particular web element. It might not work fine. In those scenarios, what happens is you could the self-healing feature will ensure that it chooses the next available element locator which works just fine. So it will automatically change to switch to the next properly working locator altogether, and it will prompt you to say, hey, I found probably this locator works better than the previous one. Maybe you might want to use this. So this it gives you the option to select that, and you can make changes based on you, or your manager can make their changes altogether to the entire test cases, so that subsequent test cases run just fine. And I was talking about parallel testing. So parallel testing, I'll just quickly say this. I talked about an analogy in the previous webinar as well. You can just simply think of it as a queue. So if there are multiple queues, multiple customers can be served. So same way. I don't want to talk much about it. So parallel testing ensures that multiple test cases can be run simultaneously in the same given time. So for example, without parallel testing, if you for testing an entire project, and all of these test cases, if they do not have any dependencies, testing an entire project, let's say it takes like a day. With parallel testing, it might be finished within like a matter of hours. So all of this is fine, but the most important part of Zoho QEngine or any test automation software altogether is test automation, of course. So when a test case is created, you should have the power to schedule those test cases and automate those test cases to run at a given particular time without any sort of human intervention. So that exactly what Zoho QEngine also does. It gives you the power to ensure that you can run the test cases at any given point of time, and you just have to schedule it based on your requirement or your team's requirement. And finally, the tunnel feature ensures that you can test applications which are available even behind the firewall on Zoho Cloud. So that we will be looking at in the subsequent sessions. And finally, once the test cases are created, all of the test cases that you have run, all of the test cases that you have executed till now, you can actually analyze the results for the individual test runs within Zoho QEngine. You can look at each of the test runs and find out exactly where the test case failed, if at all it failed. And the Zoho QEngine also gives you screenshot logs for all of the test cases. So for each line, it will be easier for you to look at the screenshot of, okay, what happened within the particular web application while the test case was running, what happened within the application, so that it's easier for you to identify the error if at all possible. Let's say sometimes an element might have changed, or a button is not visible anymore, but it is not shown. When you look at the logs of the test case, it might not be visible there, but when you look at the screenshot log of it, it is easier for you to pinpoint exactly where it went wrong. Also, the run history for all of the test cases is an important feature, where for each test case, if you click on the run history, it shows exactly what failed, or what are the frequently faced issues for that particular test case, so that the development team can actually look at it and rectify that issue. And finally, of course, all of this features and everything is fine, but there has to be some sort of control. So Zoho QEngine, of course, just like every other Zoho product out there, comes with user access control, wherein it gives the managers and the super admins to control. Let's say a test case is created, the manager has to approve that test case before it moves on to the production state, or based on the user role that you create within your organization. There are multiple roles available within Zoho QEngine for that as well. And this role also helps with collaboration. For example, the test case is created and the test runs are there. You might want to share it with the developers to say this is the issue, or maybe you might want to take a look at it. So it helps with collaborations as well. So that's about the product altogether. So we'll just quickly talk about the scenarios that we'll be seeing today, and then we'll jump into the product demo. So today's session, we'll be looking at two different use case scenarios. So what we are going to do is we are going to access, I'll show it to you before we go into the product demo. What we are going to do is we are accessing a form for a booking. So within that form, you can actually, there are multiple services available. So you'll be filling in your details and submitting the form. So once the form is submitted, a meeting is scheduled inside the booking application. So we'll submit looking at the form and ensuring that the form works just fine, and then we'll be manually verifying inside the application to check whether the meeting has been created. So this is the first scenario. In the second scenario will be the same form that we created. The test within the form itself, whatever data was added into the bookings application, we'll be using three different applications within Zoho QEngine within Zoho ecosystem to check if the integrations work just fine. So the very first step is we'll be logging in to the Zoho account, and then we'll be accessing the booking app to check if the meeting has been created, just like we saw in the booking form. The booking form is public. So once the form is filled, a meeting is created inside the booking app. So we'll be verifying if that is fine. And also we'll be checking if the data is the same, whatever was entered in the booking form. And then once inside the booking app, once that is done, we'll be looking at the meeting app and checking if a meeting has been created, and also again verifying the data as well. And finally, we'll be checking the CRM app to ensure that the data which was entered during the booking registration, that data is captured inside CRM. And finally, once all of that is verified, we'll be logging out of all of these applications. So these are the two different use case scenarios. So let's just quickly, I'll show you the form so that's easy for you to understand. So this is the form. It has multiple services available here, and of course you can change the time and everything. So all of this is available. So within this form is where you'll be entering booking the appointment, and once the booking is done, we'll be seeing it inside the bookings app. And once that is also done, we'll be looking at the meetings and finally the CRM app. So with that, let's just quickly go into the product demo. So let's just quickly jump into our product, Zoho QEngine. So let's understand the product and then we'll go into the use case scenarios. So this is our product, Zoho QEngine. So as soon as you enter Zoho QEngine, you'll be invited with the projects. And one good thing here, I would actually like to say right now is that we recently had a UI change, and the product looks much better compared to before. So these are the different projects that you have. So I would want to access Zilker Watch project. So within Zilker Watch, this is the overview dashboard. And as you can see, it gives you multiple things, and there are recent results and upcoming runs. So I'll just quickly zoom in. So on the left-hand side, as you can see, test cases. Just beside that, these are the modules, test modules. So the test cases are present within the modules, and on the right-hand side is the editor. So this is where, as I was talking about, the multiple actions that I was talking about for web related to web are available here. If we change it to Android, of course, the actions change on the left-hand side, and similarly for iOS. For API, you can actually add requests here. So this is where your test cases are available, and we'll be discussing that in some time. So once the test cases are created, they are all available. You can actually create a test suite using all of the available test cases based on your requirements. So within the test suites, you can rearrange them. And once the test suites are created within test plans, you'll be adding all of those test suites, and this is where you'll be selecting the environment and everything. And you'll be automating them, or when you want the scheduling the test execution and everything, you can select all of them, or multiple features as well are available here as well. So once the test plan is done, you can actually look at the results. This is the results dashboard. All of the test case executions inside test plans and everything, even individual test cases I was talking about for across multiple platforms, web, mobile, and API and everything everything, you can actually view them clearly. You can interact with them and everything. And of course, the user dashboard helps you with your team and everything. And the environments. No, sorry. And the repositories are available for variables, elements, files, and everything. We'll quickly start off with variables. As I was talking about, variable is a container. So all of the variables are available here. You can actually add values here and everything. And for each of the variables also, you can create environment variables here as well. So those are available here. And the elements repository, as I was talking about. Yeah. So the elements repository, of course, has the individual elements and their locators. All of the locators for the individual web element and everything is available here. But this is for web. Also, you can expect the same thing for Android and iOS as well. Sorry about that. And of course, we have the files, all the important files and everything needed for your testing and everything is available here. And we are happy to announce that MFA is available recently on Zoho QEngine. It recently got released, so that is also available here. And the multiple features. We discussed all of this in previous sessions. So again, the agents and everything that I was talking about. And finally, the tunnel feature testing behind firewall on cloud. Okay. So with that, let's just start with creating the test case. So I'll just quickly create a test case. And I want it inside the webinar module. Okay, there seems to be a test case is created. So now a test case is created. Of course, this is where the record button, the no code recorder is available here. So this is where I'll be clicking and creating the test case. So as I was talking about the elements repository, it is available right here. So whenever you are writing a test case or creating a test case and you are interacting with everything, it is available here for you at all times. So currently we are gonna use the no code test recorder, and this is the booking form that I was talking about. So I'll just quickly copy the URL. Okay, so this is how it looks, just for you to look at it carefully. I'll enter the URL. Click on start. So as you can see, wherever my cursor is hovering, all of my actions are being recorded. So I'll just quickly click on one of the services available. So I want this customized solution service. I clicked on it. The slot also feels fine. I click on book appointment. Now I'll just add a name. So I'll just also add a random number. So it's not like a proper number. I just added a random number. The test case or the booking form is created. So now that the booking form is created, I just want to ensure that the form has been created successfully. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up here, and if you can see, this is these are the frequently used actions I was talking about. Even within the recorder, you have access to all of them. So now what I'm going to quickly do is I'm just going to select the assert text option. So if I click on this, says this particular appointment confirmed with Mohan text will be added, and it will be asserted every single time this test case is run. If at all the assertion fails, then the test case will also fail. So now we see that the test case is created and all of the actions, everything that I did is being was recorded. And one clear indication of that is, if you can see here, I entered Ryan with a small r, but then I went back and changed it, and that was also recorded. So this is not needed. You don't want the system to keep doing repetitive things. So I'm just going to quickly delete this. Okay, so now understanding this is the very first time you are creating a test case, so you need to anticipate certain things like a UI or a different change in UI, something different happens. So you want to anticipate that. The very first step, what you can do is I loaded the form. So I want to ensure that the form works just fine. So I'm just going to give it a time of 3 seconds for the form to load just fine. So now, after I have added all the, like selected all of the customization, the services and everything, when I clicked on book appointment, there was a new UI opened up, which wherein I had enter name and everything. And if you looked at it carefully, you might notice that it was a different UI altogether. So I anticipate that it might create problems. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add another wait condition here, but this wait condition will be different from the previous one wherein I just added time. Here also I'm just going to give a time of 3. But what I want this wait condition to do is wait till this URL pops up. So I want this URL to pop up. So, this locator to pop up. Wait till it shows properly. So now I have added that locator, and it will wait till that particular locator shows up just fine. And finally, once the form was submitted and everything, before this appointment confirmed part, again, I feel that since it was a change in UI, I feel that there might be an issue. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just copying this locator here, pasting it here, and again, I wanted to wait till this locator shows up. So I'm going to quickly save this. Okay, now before running the test case, of course, Zoho QEngine gives you the option to select the multiple environments. Here you can actually select whether you want to run it on Zoho Cloud, Regent, and everything, and all of the different possibilities that we were talking about. So in this case, it is already on Chrome, latest browser version, and screen resolution of 1020 into 920 into 1080, and everything's available here. I don't want environment rules. I'm just going to click on run. Either you can do that, or I'll just show you, or you can just quickly, if at all you have a preferred environment, if you have selected that, it will run on that. Okay, just a minute. Sorry about that. Before we run the test case, we already created this form. So let me just quickly show you that it is already available. The test case didn't run. I stopped it. So once a booking form was whatever data was added to the booking form, as you can see, the data is added to the booking, and also a meeting has been successfully created as well. And similarly, the lead is also available inside. Yeah. Okay. So now, before we run the test case, so we know that it works just fine, but we want to automate it multiple times, right? So I just wanted to show it to you. The test case is working. We need to check if the test case is working just fine. We manually tested the form, but we want to check if the test case can do the same thing. So what we will do is, I'm just going to quickly cancel this. I'm just going to ensure that all of the applications do not have any data altogether, and it looks just like it was before we entered the form. So as you can see, bookings doesn't have anything as of now. And similarly, since bookings data has been erased, meetings will also has been erased. And also I'll remove the data from CRM as well. So now you can see clearly that the data does not exist anywhere at all. So now what we'll do is we will run the test case now again. Sorry about that. I should have done it a bit earlier. Anyway, I'm running the test case. So while the test case is running, you can see that on the right hand side, screenshot log is available. As you can see, the screenshot log of whatever is happening in the test case, everything is shown on the right hand side. So as I can see here that my test case passed fine and it worked. Everything worked just fine and everything, which is a good sign. So now this is the screenshot log I was talking about. So whatever actions that the test case did, everything is captured as a screenshot for you to look at it carefully. If at all anything went wrong, or you might want to go back and check, so you can actually check it here. And now, do you see this green icon here? So this is self-healing. So what happened was when the test case was running, it identified that certain locators weren't working just fine. This is what I was talking about. And self-healing ensured that the next best locator was selected for these two scenarios, and it is being available here. So now what you can do is you can select them and you can click on the approve button. So if you do that, what happens is the subsequent test cases, this issue that we faced here will not be there. It doesn't have to self-heal over and over again. So if you don't do it, what happens is it will self-heal every single time you run this test case, it will self-heal every single time. But if you click on this approve part, it will not self-heal over and over again. So for now, I'll just click on approve or self-healing is also the test case is working just fine. So let's just quickly go into the application. So the test case is working just fine. As you can see here, the new booking is added, and similarly, meeting has been created. And also, if I'm not wrong, there has to be a slight delay probably. Yeah, okay, that seems fine now. So the data is also added to CRM. So everything seems to work just fine. So for now, we are done with the first use case scenario. So the first use case scenario, we created a test case and everything seems to work just fine. So the second use case scenario, we'll be testing all of them using a test case. So the first use case scenario is fine. So let's look at the second use case scenario now. This time, let me rename it in a different way so that there are no issues. Okay, so this is the second use case scenario, and as I mentioned clearly, we'll be looking at all of these three applications to check if the data is just fine. So what we'll be doing is we'll click on the record button and we will start with the URL. So in this case, we are going to start with the meetings application. So meetings, bookings, booking dot zoho.com. I'm signing in to the application now. I'm entering the username. I've signed into the application. So the very first step I'm going to do is, so while we were creating the or registering for the booking, what we did was we entered a email ID. So what we will do is we will check if the email ID is fine, or it's an easier way to check. So what I'm going to do is I am going to select the email ID and assert text. So what happens is now every time it enters this application, it will click on the particular appointment, and it will enter the customer details, reach here and check for the email ID. So that is fine. So now I'm good with this application. I'm going to quickly move on to the other application. So the next one is meeting.zoho.com. So I'm visiting this application. If you can see, all of this action is being recorded. We were initially at 10 steps. Now we are at 11 steps. So again, click on sign in. Since I've already signed in, it will straight away take me to the application. So I'm scrolling down. I am clicking on the session. So inside the session, again, I want to check if the data is fine. So what I'll do right now is I'll click on this view invited participants. Again, I see that there is an email ID. It's an easier way to check. So I'm just going to quickly again click on the assert text button and save. So with inside this application, I am happy with this. So I'll move on to the next application. The final application we are going to go into is CRM. Enter the URL. Again, signing in. Clicking on the leads. I see that the entry is already there. I'm clicking on one of the first entry. Again, I want to verify this text, which is the email ID. So again, I've selected the assert text. I'm clicking on save now. I have entered all of the three applications, and I have selected the data which I want to verify if it is fine. For easier understanding, I've taken email ID. So finally, I'm clicking on the profile button and signing out of the Zoho applications. So signed out and stopping. Okay. So now, as you can see here, I entered three applications and I verified the data which was present inside all of these applications to ensure that the same data which was used for booking is there. And the integrations between all of these applications are working just fine. So now, one important thing to understand is whenever you are creating test cases, of course, the system, when you are automating it, is going to perform all of the actions that you intended to, let's say, clicking or dragging and moving on and everything. But that is a waste of time when you want to schedule or automate your test cases. So you want to be as efficient as possible. And one simple way to do that is to check exactly what you want to check. Instead of, let's say, you are in one particular tab and then you move on to another tab and so on. So our intention in this scenario is to check if the integration is working fine between all of these applications and not whether each of these buttons and everything are working fine. So what we will do is we'll make it much more efficient. So this you can call it as a business requirement. So each test case has an important requirement. So in this case, it is testing the different integrations between all of these applications. So what we will do is we'll quickly select the important URLs and we'll quickly go there. So in this case, the you straight away want it to come here, we can select this URL. We'll change the URL here. You can actually enter the email ID and password here, but for now, I'm just going to delete that. And everything else seems fine. Similarly, within a Zoho meeting as well, you can actually select the exact URL. And since it is already present, it is actually going to reach that. You don't have to click on sign in button or anything, since you are going to exactly reach that particular home. And similarly for CRM as well. I'm deleting this and I'm adding URL. For some reason, it didn't get captured. So these are inside the quotes, same window. Okay, so everything seems just fine. Let's just quickly run this test case to see. Test cases are running, and as you can see here, it is currently signing into Zoho. One interesting thing to notice here is that it gives you exactly what is happening for each of the lines of the test cases. So right now it is inside meetings. Bookings has worked. The test assertion also works just fine, and we are inside meeting as of now. I think there might be an issue here, but you do not have to worry. Every time you are creating the test case for the very first time, you might face issues because it is based on your application and everything. You might have to tweak it a bit here and there, and you will get it right. For example, here it says line number 12. Something went wrong. Let's just quickly take a look at it. What went wrong or where it went wrong. So probably it was not able to select the particular what to say, the session field. So you just have to make changes here, and if you continually make changes or everything, as you can see here, it works just fine for our bookings app. If you make changes here, it will work here as well, and similarly for CRM as well. So that's about it.